We're back, and this is The Grizz. You're listening to me on SME. Before the break, I, didn't have in my notes about Luis Gonzalez, and I got it here. Somebody spent $10,000 on his chewing gum. Stupid. So, yeah, I was listening to Doug, and he was discussing the O.J. Simpson trial, and, I wasn't going to watch it because, I've seen so many documentaries on O.J. Simpson. So when he started talking about what was going on ESPN and the 30 for 30, I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to watch it. But then, he kind of drew me in some of the things that he was saying. So I was like, you know what? Let me go on and let me watch it. And then I was watching it. I was like, okay, I've seen all of this. But there was something that was in there that I saw, and I'm like, man, these lawyers, it's like they are a team. And it's no different than when you watch an NFL game or you watch a basketball game. It's two oppositions. And at the end of the day, you're trying to defeat the opposition. So when they started talking about how when they went in his home and, he had nothing but white individuals that he had taken pictures with, and then there was no pictures of anybody that was black, and how they went in the home and they took down some of those pictures and put up pictures of people that were black, and they took pictures with O.J. Simpson. I'm like, that's a game plan. That's what you see in sports all the time. Okay, let's try to cover up this deficiency with this strength. That's what sports is all about. That's what we see. Okay, yeah. Hold on. Let's look at the Golden State Warriors. Let's look at them. They don't have a post play. They don't have post presence. So what have they done? They said, you know what? We don't have that, and it's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to shoot 3-point shots, and we're going to shoot it at a high clip. That's a game plan. They didn't sit there and they didn't try to be like the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers, they could have held on to Andrew Wiggins, but they wanted to be conventional. Let's get that post player in here named Kevin Love, but it hasn't worked. Well, we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens, and I'm going to tell you about what happened with Kevin Love. I think the story is kind of funny, and I think it's kind of insulting to Kevin Love. But so that's what I got from that trial. It's like these individuals, Johnny Cochran and company, they like, man, look at this dude. This dude's a straight seller. I know that was like the immediate thing that came in their mind, like, man, this dude is a straight sellout. This dude's an Uncle Tom. This dude's a cornball, whatever, whitewash, whatever you want to say. Now, I said Uncle Tom for a reason. I've heard this word used many times when it comes to a black person who is quote unquote not down for the cause. We say in the black community that, he's whitewashed, and I really, and this is just a history lesson. It's a short history lesson. So I really want you to kind of understand what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is true. You can go on the internet and you can look it up for yourself. When you use the word Uncle Tom, when you use that word to describe a black person being a sellout or being subservient to white people, you're not using the word correctly. You're just not. That word, well, let's be honest. Let's not be honest. It's the truth. The word Uncle Tom came from a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was wrote by a white woman who was an abolitionist. She wrote the book to let whites in the North know about the tyranny that was being bestowed upon blacks in the South, because whites in the South were saying that slavery is good for the black people and that black people they like to be enslaved. And her whole thing was, no, that's a lie. These are some of the atrocities that is being bestowed upon these people. So when you talk about Uncle Tom's Cabin, because that's the name of the book, it's like, it's not true. She made the story up. So like the moral of the story is that Uncle Tom, he was subservient to the white master because of his Christian belief, and he was beaten to death by his slave master because he refused to sit there and tell, in the black community we say snitching on other blacks who were trying to get to freedom, and they beat him to death because he refused to tell. That, so when you use that word Uncle Tom, please know why you are using the word. So now I just schooled you. I just gave you a history lesson on where the word comes from. So when I was talking about Cam Newton here on Stewart Media and Entertainment, I saw a couple of people say, you know, the Grizz is an Uncle Tom. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, you're an idiot. You don't know any better. You're ignorant. And I start laughing because you are, because you don't know no better. But now that you know better, now you have to do better. So please, when you are referring to a black person who is a sellout, please do not use an Uncle Tom. You can call him an Oreo. He's a sellout. You can say any of that, but do not use the word Uncle Tom because you're ignorant. You don't know any better. Let me see what else I have for you today. Adrian Peterson has Super Bowl or bust mentality for Vikings roster. His whole thing is, if guys don't feel this way, they should be traded. And you know what? I have to agree with him. But my whole thing is with Adrian Peterson is the fact that he has 38 fumbles in 10 years playing in the NFL. So my whole thing is he going to step his game up? He can't fumble the football. I was watching something on Marshall Faulk, who I feel is the greatest all-around running back of all time. If you gave me a chance to draft or to have any football player on my team, you give me Marshall Faulk. He could block. He could catch the ball out of the backfield. He can line up at that slot receiver position. And then, he can run the football too. So I was watching a documentary on Marshall Faulk. And Marshall Faulk, he had caught a pass. And he was going upfield. And he fumbled the football. And, he came to the sideline. And the coaching staff, they were telling him, Marshall, it's okay. And Marshall Faulk was so upset. He was extremely upset. He told one of his teammates, I haven't fumbled the football in 4 years. What is this? What? And his teammate was like, dude, it's going to be okay. And you can tell that Marshall Faulk, he was so upset. He didn't like that. Even though he's a human being, his whole thing was, I strive for perfection. Adrian Peterson, on the other hand, he's not doing that. That is entirely too many fumbles for a player of his caliber. He can't do this. He cannot do this if he is talking about Super Bowl or bust. And I'm not mad at him. I want him to have that mentality and let it be known to the guys on the roster. Everything starts with the leaders of the team. So if the leader of the team is saying this is how we're going to act, then the rest of the guys, they have to follow suit. But here's the thing. If you're doing things that you should not do, then how can they sit there and follow you? Because they're going to be like, well, dude, you said this, but look what you're doing. Yeah, you're rushing for these yards, but you're turning the football over. Marshall Faulk, 4 years without fumbling the football. That's what you want. You don't want somebody who's going to sit there and constantly give away the football. That is unacceptable football, and I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. The guy can play, and yes, the guy, he beats his child or his children. But it still don't negate the fact that the guy can play football, but he can't turn the football over. Mike McCarthy, he has zero issues being an offensive coach, especially if an offensive coach goes for the 2-point conversion every time. Now, this is off of comments made by Big Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, who were saying that they would like to go for the 2-point conversion as many times as possible. Now, for Mike McCarthy, yes, he went 5 for 7 on 2-point conversion attempts last season, but before then, he was it 2 and 12, and that was 5 years prior to this season. So does he really mean that? Who knows? Now, how do I feel about that? If I was a coach, would I sit there and would I go for a 2-point conversion after every touchdown? My thing is no. I can't and I will not do that. You have to think, when you go up against teams like LOB, you want to be able to score as many points as possible. You want to be able to get the free points. You don't want to have to go out there and work every play. When you get a 2-point conversion, you have to work to get that. When you get a PAT, even though they moved it back, you don't have to work as an offense. I don't want everything to always come hard. Now, I understand that 8 is greater than 7. 16 is greater than 14. I get that. But it all depends on when you do it and who you do it against. So I'm not for favor of that. But I'm not going to sit here and knock or say, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's doing if he feels that way. I'm not going to say that. Wow. You know, I hate when I hear guys, individuals try to sit there and compare mediocre or above average players to like the supremely great mythological players in a sport. I hate it. Just like I hate it when somebody sit there and people out there comparing Aaron Rodgers to freaking Michael Jordan. Aaron Rodgers compared to Michael Jordan, Aaron Rodgers is a mediocre player. That's how great Michael Jordan is or was. So when I heard that, it was like, really? Like you're serious? This guy has 1 Super Bowl. Michael Jordan has how many championships? How many Finals MVPs? Okay, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Sit down and shut up, right? So when I listen to a Brandon LaFell sit there and say,